Greetings, YouTube! The Doctor is in, and today we are talking about the spell Blinding Smite with the Doctor spell prognosis. So stay tuned, and we're going to talk about it. But first, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a question or comment. All right, we are giving this spell a B+. It is usable only by Paladins. It's actually a pretty good spell. It's one of the better of these kind of smite spells that trigger upon a hit. So you cast a spell and it doesn't really enchant a weapon, but it enchants the base of hitting with that weapon. So it's a third level spell. It requires a bonus action to cast it. So you cast it itself. It's only a verbal. This one lasts for an entire minute, and the duration for the spell actually lasts a minute. So most of these smite spells that are from first and second level, they last a minute. That is, the spell lasts until you hit, and then there's usually like an immediate effect or an effect that lasts for like a round. But this one has an effect that lasts for an entire turn. So you cast a spell with a bonus action. The next time you hit the creature with a melee attack, not a melee spell attack, but a melee attack, during the spell's duration, the weapon flares. It deals extra radiant damage, so that's key, because there are certain things that are vulnerable to radiant damage, not everything. And additionally, the target must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or be blinded until the spell ends. Now, a Constitution saving throw is not great. Out of the physicals, that's probably the second to best one that you want. Strength. Most creatures have really high strength. Then they have a high Constitution. Then they have a high Dex. So a creature that is blinded by the spell makes another Constitution saving throw at the end of each of its turn. On a successful save, it's no longer blinded. So you want to make sure that it gets blinded, and then you want to make sure it stays blinded. And there's really no way to keep it going, unless, you know, the only way to keep it going is if luck is on your side and there's bad random number generation from dice from whatever opponent gets hit with this. So I do like this spell. Like I said, it does a lot of extra damage in addition to blinding the opponent. So there is that. So next question I've got for this is what subclasses, what Paladin subclasses could we use would be the best ones to use with this spell? And then what other subclasses or whatever classes could we use, or abilities from other classes could we use with this spell and the Paladin to kind of game the system, make the spell more powerful in certain ways? All right, so for Paladins, let's start with Oath of Conquest. So we're looking at Conquering Presence or Guided Strike. So Guided Strike would allow you to hit better with this. Gives you a +10 to the attack roll with a Channel Divinity, and you make an attack roll. You can Channel Divinity with a +10 bonus to the die. You make this choice after you see the roll, but before the DM says it's a hit or a miss. So this gives you a chance of hitting if you think you're not going to hit. And then, because the trigger for the spell is a hit, but you have to hit with the spell. So the next time you hit with the melee attack during the spell's duration, and the spell has a duration of 1 minute, then the effects take place. So this would give you, this is probably okay. It's not the best. Now, Oath of Devotion gives you Sacred Weapon. So you channel for 1 minute. You add your Charisma modifier to attack rolls made with that weapon, minimum of +1, and it radiates some light. That's pretty good. Again, it gives you a bonus to hit so that the effects can take effect. I just said effect twice. Then we've got Oath of Glory. You've got this Peerless Athlete. That doesn't really have anything to do with this spell, so that's probably not a good choice. That has more to do with carrying, pushing, dragging, lifting, that kind of thing. And then you have the Inspiring Smite. That doesn't really have anything to do with this either. We've got Oath of Redemption. You're an Emissary of Peace. As a bonus action, give you a +1, +5 to Persuasion rolls. That has nothing to do with this. Oath of Ancients. You can restrain a target. So that actually is not too bad. So you could restrain a target, giving you advantage to hit, and then you would be able to hit with this attack therein enacting the spell. Turn the Faithless doesn't really have anything to do with this. Oath of the Crown. You got your challenge. So you could challenge a creature that, and then it can only, as a bonus action, you issue a challenge. Each creature of your choice within 30 feet must make a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, it can't willingly move more than 30 feet away from you. This effect ends on the creature if you are incapacitated. That kind of has something to do with it, not much. And Turn the Tide doesn't necessarily have anything to do with that. We're not going to go over Oath of the Open Sea because that's a Matt Mercer. We've got Oath of the Watchers. So with the Watcher's Will, as an action, you choose a number of creatures up to 30 feet. And for 1 minute, they have an advantage on Intelligence Wisdom. So that has nothing to do with this spell as well. We've got Oath of Vengeance. So you can vow of enmity an enemy, which gives you advantage on attacks. Now, the problem with this is you have advantage on attacks against that enemy for 1 minute or until they drop to 0 hit points. But if you blind them, you have advantage anyway. So this might be a good stacker with that. So you could blind them first and then vow of enmity once the blindness goes away. You can also abjure an enemy, which makes them frightened. Frightening gives them disadvantage on attacks against you. And on top of that, with Blinding Smite, that would be good. I think that Oath of Vengeance is probably one of the better ones. Oathbreaker gets the Dreadful Aspect, which is another frighten, so there is that. It's either going to be, I would say, Oath of Vengeance, or I believe it was Oath of Conquest, or Oath of Devotion. Probably are the better subclasses to use with this. Now, what other classes could we stack on top of this? Well, we've got Sorcerer. Sorcerer and Paladins both have Charisma in common. Paladins they don't have to have the highest Charisma, but they can have a pretty high Charisma. And so you would get Meta Magic, and you'd get some Sorcerer points if you just went to 3rd level. And so there's certain things that you could do to change the spell to make it a bit better. One is it lasts for a minute, so you could extend it. When you cast a spell that has a duration of a minute or longer, you can spend 1 sorcery point to double its duration to a maximum of 24 hours. So it'll last for 2 minutes instead of a minute, which means the blindness will last for 2 minutes. It's not great. Most combats don't last 10 rounds or more, so there is that. You do have to take that in consideration. There is Heightened Spell. Now, this is a little bit controversial. So it says, when you cast a spell that forces a creature to make a saving throw to resist its effects. This spell does force a creature to make a saving throw to resist its effects, just not right away. But it does meet the minimum muster for this spell. You can spend 3 sorcery points to give one target of the spell disadvantage on the first saving throw made against that spell. Now the question comes, does heightening only affect spells that target creatures, or would it work with Blinding Smite? I don't know. If you have an opinion about that, leave that in the comments. And of course, you don't really need to quicken this because it already only costs a bonus action. So there is that. Now, bards. I would say bards also can be used with paladins quite effectively. Bard of Eloquence, my favorite bard, has unsettling words. Now, because Blinding Smite lasts an entire minute, you can cast Blinding Smite, and then outside of combat, if you know that there's going to be a combat, and then you can use Unsettling Words the first opportunity you get a bonus action. Because Blinding Smite takes a bonus action. So on the first round of combat, if you cast Blinding Smite, you can't use Unsettling Words. So you could cast Blinding Smite. Then, once you have your bonus action back, you can use that with Unsettling Words to give them a penalty on their saving throw of a D6. So there is that. All right, that's what I got for everybody today. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will catch everybody later.